Right Real Estate Agent Podcast Show. We're on episode 113. My name is Thomas J. Nelson, and my co-host is Jonathan Denwood. And we have a fantastic guest today in Courtney Brophy from Happy Turtle Marketing. And Courtney, thanks for joining us on the show. And why don't you say hi to our audience?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here. Let's talk real estate.
All right. Well, we will definitely dive into that in just a moment. I want to give Jonathan a chance to say hello to everyone.
Oh, well, hi there, folks. I'm the founder of Mail Right. We're a company that provides services that will help you get more leads from Facebook.
And I'm Thomas J. Nelson. I'm a residential realtor here in beautiful San Diego, California, where I'm never too busy for your referrals. And I'm excited to dive into some questions today with Courtney. Courtney, I wanted to ask you, I read a little bit of your bio on your website, and it looks like you've had quite a background from everything from working with theater companies to large marketing programs for real estate companies. And at what point did you make the decision to go out on your own, and what was that decision for you like? I mean, when you decided, okay, I'm going to leave the comfort of working for someone else and dive into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, entrepreneurship's funny, isn't it? You're kind of born with it. And if you don't respond to it, it will never go away.
Right.
I initially got into real estate back in 2010, which is about the worst time in the world to be a new agent.
Yep.
And to keep myself afloat, I actually started doing marketing even at that point for other agents because they needed it, particularly in the online sphere. That was when, Facebook business pages were like a new thing. So I very quickly found that, there was opportunity there. And I wanted to make sure that if I was going to go out and really do it full time, that I had the education, the support behind me, that I knew what I was doing. So a couple years back when, the more that I spent time with agents, the more I found that they really had a need for people that were focused on the tools and focused on doing it properly, and not, these fly by night vendors online that they're getting scammed by because they don't know the difference.
Right.
So, I saw a need, and I had the skill and kind of the drive and my gut to do it. And a couple years later, here I am.
So let me ask you this, because you obviously have a focus on real estate agents, and I know just from being an agent for almost 20 years now, and running networking groups with that are both entrepreneurial and or real estate agent mastermind focused. There's one common thread that runs between small business owners, and it's the DIY mentality. I can do it all myself. How do you get people to get beyond the DIY mentality and get into the done for you mentality?
I love do-it-yourself agents. They're some of the most dive in and get their hands dirty people I've ever met, and I love that about them. However,
yes,
I have a full-time job as a Facebook advertiser, and I spend probably 5 to 10 hours a week in training and reading and educating and learning. And I'm in dozens of groups and things as a full-time advertiser. So it's hard for me to believe, knowing what an agent's life looks like, those late night phone calls, those 10 offers on one house in 24 hours, those days happen. And they also, have a life and have family and sports and, things that they do. For them to be able to really properly leverage that tool, in its scale, it's hard. I very rarely see truly successful agents doing it. And the ones that I do, my response is usually, well, you should probably be doing what I'm doing. If you're really that good at it, why are you selling real estate? So it's, I know there are agents, and some of them, that's just their niche. It's what they like to spend their time doing. And then they hire teams to go out and actually sell houses. So, if that's the case, then great. So it's a difficult thing to stay current on.
Yes.
So if you're willing to invest in the education and the tools to stay current, to do it yourself, it is possible. But I think it ends up, a full-time job for people without even realizing it. All of a sudden, all they're doing is lead generating, and then they're not actually converting or selling any houses. So there's always a trade-off there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and then you're talking about too a small percentage of agents with a team, because the larger percentage are on their own. So I would imagine this greatly affects their best use of time when they're trying to take on all these tasks themselves. So I mean, for me, I've always tried to convey, how am I most valuable, and then everything else, how can I hire it done?
Right.
But and in talking to my service providers about this, I find that their biggest challenge is finding more entrepreneurs like me with my mentality, because they run into so many people thinking, no, why would I hire it done when I can just do it myself? But you brought it up earlier. What about the value of your life, your time? I mean, your whole life. It can't be the real estate business. I mean, I know some agents that it is, but I mean, how do you get people to realize, look, you're at a point in your career where you don't need to be doing this. That's what I'm here for. You need to focus on what you do best, and it's not this. But how do you approach that with them? Because I mean, there's ego involved.
Yep. Well, I think honestly, a lot of times my most successful conversations are with agents who came from another industry. And we talk about, like I was a marketing manager for a division of this ginormous company. And in our building, we had our sales director, we had our sales managers, we had myself, the marketing manager. We had salespeople all over the country. We had an operations manager. We had a warehouse and fulfillment manager. We had customer service team. We had an accountant. All of these job descriptions to run one business. And then in real estate, they take them all and expect this one person to be all of those things. It's insane, right? When you say it like that. Yep. So, ultimately, if one of those things is your sweet spot, all of those other things, you're probably doing B, C, D, and F level work, right? If you're really, really good at this thing, your other business functions are suffering. And, at the end of the day, everything you do in your business is a marketing function. How well you take care of your people, how well you deal with your bookkeeping and your transactional management. I mean, it's all part of your marketing. So if you're letting those things suffer, you're actually doing a disservice to your whole business, whether you realize it or not. Think about the agents are famous for their shoe boxes full of receipts at tax time, right? To save a couple $100 a year on a regular accountant, like that they could do that every month and every quarter and actually pay quarterly taxes, that kind of stuff. So those are the most successful conversations usually that I have, are people that when you say it that way and they're like, yeah, I remember. Those 10 people were 10 very different people with very different skill sets. And we invested in their education separately. We hired CPAs as accountants and we hired MBAs in marketing for a marketing director. To expect all of those to be compiled into one disc profile, it very rarely works for one agent to take all that on.
Well, I would imagine too that even if they don't have that background, for example, I don't, but that totally makes sense to me when you break it down that way. And you touched on this, and this is where I want to go with my next question is, I do believe like you that marketing is one of our number one priorities, because without the marketing, nothing else happens. We don't have anything to do until the business starts coming in.
Right.
So, but I run into people that make a mistake because they blend mentalities on this question I'm going to ask you. Can you explain to us the difference between marketing and advertising and lead generation, for that matter? Because there are three different things in my mind. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're right.
All right. So in your mind, how do you discern the difference between your marketing versus your advertising? Let's start with that.
Well, if you start there, I mean, marketing is about your holistic brand, and it's about what the reputation of your business is in your market. For realtors, it's a lot easier because you're hyper-local brands, right? You're not trying to blanket all of the United States.
Right.
You get to say, this 10 square miles is my turf. I'm going to own it. It's going to be mine. So when you're thinking about marketing that, there's a lot of different ways that you can develop that reputation and that brand. There are people that are new construction agents, and no matter where you are, you're going to know their name. There are people that rock star at community service, and they run these huge projects, and it's what their business is known for. So in a crowded space, marketing can allow you to have a voice and to have a brand, and you have to determine what that is. And it's different for everybody. As a consultant, you have to be open to that. Okay, maybe that's not your thing, so let's find something else. But if you have no thing, you're going to have nothing, right?
Right.
So then you go into advertising, which is my go forth and conquer part of the conversation. Go forth, find the people you want to do business with. Okay. In theory, the marketing has already been working, and when they see your name, there's going to be some recognition there. But the advertising, you got to go find those people that need you. You're in a service industry if you're in real estate. Right. You advertise because you have something to offer, and you're saying, please come work with me. I want to help you. That if you start from that place, all of your parts of it. And then you've got lead gen. Lead gen is a totally different thing. There's a lot of advertising and marketing that will never generate you a lead.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute, because That's a huge mistake agents make. I see it all the time on my blog site on Active Rain. They're like, I just did all this stuff to my website. Nothing's happening. You know, so let's talk about that. What are the mistakes agents are making when it comes to lead generation?
Focusing on lead generation as their only objective. That's my first response to that. If you are only looking at the things that you're doing by how many leads did it get me directly, you're fighting a losing battle because you can't track all of those things. You know, the value of running that peanut butter and jelly campaign for the local food shelter can't be measured. But you know what? When you ran an ad and they saw your name, it had value. So you can't just say this line item brought me 5, this line item brought me 2, this one converted 1 sale, this one converted 1. Like, obviously that's the metric that's the end of the pipe.
Right.
But if you want to build a sustainable business, you really have to be thinking short-term and long-term. So, you know, even with Facebook ads, you know, sometimes campaigns can take a little time to get legs under them before the leads really start to flow. And that's on us as advertisers to get that happening as quickly as possible. But in the meantime, you've still gotten thousands of impressions for a penny a piece, or, you know, clicks to your website where they've gone and engaged in other content. And, you know, you're building a retargeting audience that you're going to be able to send ads to for, like, you know, there are layers to that value besides just that one metric in the ad screen that leads clicked, check. And I think when you think about your business as a whole like that, it takes some of the pressure off each individual activity. While you should hold it accountable, you can't necessarily equate everything to leads, because your advertising has to be happening, your marketing has to be happening, and hopefully those will contribute to lead gen. Because if all things are working together, you're going to have a short-term and long-term success, right? That's my perspective on it.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm going to ask you this. With that knowledge, are all 3 of these happening in concert, or are you starting with, okay, let me get my branding going before I start advertising, before I start lead gen? Or is there an order to this, or are they all happening at once? How does somebody like brand new in the business today launch that program?
The perfectionist real estate agent. This is one of my favorite subjects. And when I get on the call with agents, well, I'm working on my website. Can we run any ads? Well, that depends. If I can run them without it, then yeah, let's get them out there. Like, you have no time to lose. You're not getting paid, right? You're commission only. You know, it depends on your need. You know, if you're a brand new agent, the concept of brand when you haven't sold a house yet is a really, really big elephant to try to eat one bite at a time, right? However, from an advertising standpoint, you can get traction quickly and start getting those wins and those clients and those testimonials and those sales on your Zillow and those kind of things that give you sense of scale. Being a new agent is really hard because you're duking it out with people that have sold 1,000 homes, and in some markets, 20-person teams. So, you know, you can start branding in the sense that establishing with your own sphere that you're a real estate agent now, and developing your genius with them, you know, doing emails and Facebook posts and lives and sending them things directly by text, or, you know, however you can get in front of your sphere. Like, I'm in real estate now, please do business with me. Because people are scared. You're a new agent. Like, it really takes a lot of time to establish that credibility that you actually know what the heck you're talking about, right?
Right.
So from that standpoint, brand yourself with your sphere. But first thing you got to do is start making a living, right? You have got to get some leads coming in the door. You're going to be out of business in 100 days, like so many agents are. So, you know, for a brand new agent, I would push lead gen, you know, sphere networking first, then focus on lead gen, like the things that you can do to bring leads now. Things like SEO. SEO is great. It's almost magical, the way that you could just have leads forever off of one post. But it's not going to happen tomorrow, and you could be out of business before that happens.
Right.
So, you know, as a brand new agent, you have to weigh those things against each other. You know, they push open houses. Open houses are great. You're literally standing in front of someone that wants to buy a house. Heck yes, at all the open houses you can. No dollars required there, right?
Right.
You know, so, sorry, that was kind of a roundabout answer to say, focus on your sphere first if you're a new agent, and then focus on lead gen. All of those other things will come when you have the budget and the time to deal with them. As a brand new agent, you've got all the time in the world.
I wouldn't worry about that at all. Actually, I'm notorious for my roundabout answers.
I'm just going to digress. So, but you know, you brought up a couple things I want to dive into in a minute here, because I do want to talk about Facebook and SEO. But something that popped into my mind while you were giving that good answer was, What about the agent? This is what I ran into. I'm just going to throw myself into this. I found myself in the last 3 or 4 years hitting a new price point. I went up in price point, which brought up a different clientele level, but it also changed my competition. And suddenly I'm going up against these massive teams that I was under their radar at a certain price point. Now I'm dead set, in a game of chicken with them on listing presentations. So with an agent that's already established, that does have a brand, does have a history of marketing and lead gen going on, but now you need to tweak because your competition's changed. Is there different advice for them, or is it the same advice?
Be better than them.
So, okay, but let's unpack that.
I don't mean to be dismissive. That's my sincere response. Especially we'll just go back to, Facebook advertising.
Right.
When you're doing awesome things on Facebook, there's a perception of you as an agent.
Okay.
Because they think you're cool, they think you're tech savvy, and they think you're going to do things that no one else can.
Okay.
So when you sit down in that listing presentation, unless that team has someone that's as good as you should be able to show your value and show the things that you're doing, where it becomes you selling you, not you against them. If you know that you are better than them in certain things, you can focus on those things. So make it your business to be better than them at something. No, you may not be able to say, I've got 7 buyer's agents that bring in leads and da-da-da-da-da-da. But you can say, I invest constantly while your home is on the market in Facebook advertising. Last month, I got over 1 million impressions for my clients.
Yeah.
Okay, well, go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, I don't know if Courtney would agree with this, but the other factor is celebrate that you're smaller, that you're a boutique, you're offering a boutique individual service. And some of those clients, that wouldn't appeal to them. They would want to go with a massive team. But I would suggest, and I'll be interested if Courtney agrees, that a lot of those clients would also be interested in going with a boutique player. So I don't think it's necessarily that you need to make out you're some massive player against these big teams, because be what you are, really. Yeah. What do you think?
Great advice.
I agree completely. And, I just know, we'll just speak to my market specifically. There's 4 or 5 of these gigantic teams that are 10 plus people. One of the original Keller Williams expansion teams started in our market. Like, that's who our agents are duking it out against. Wow. And they don't even try, not in a negative way, but they're just like, look, I'm me. If you dial the phone, you're going to get me. That's my value. And then they look at maybe outsourcing parts of their business to someone like myself, so that they can say they don't have to feel like they're doing it all. You know what I mean? Speak to who you are. And great evidence of that is the fact that on Zillow now, you can search by team or individual agent.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because even Zillow has identified that not everybody wants this thing and not everybody wants this thing. So the consumer gets to pick now. So just, I'm right there with you, man. Just be who you are and be great at what you do. That's the best marketing you can do, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because not everyone's going to want the big mill. They're going to want the specialized service. I mentioned being in a new price point this year. I've been in deals with 3 of those agents I go head to head with. I brought buyers into their listings, and I never once talked to them. I never once heard from them. I always talked to the gatekeeper and the assistant. Which, for me, not a problem, but if I'm the client, I may want to hear from the actual man's name or the woman's name on the bus bench I called.
Right. Yeah.
Or wherever you found them. Now, the opposite of a bus bench ad would probably be some Facebook advertising here. So let's.
That's a good segue.
I'm curious to know. I've done. My first real experience with Facebook advertising was working with Jonathan's company with MailRight, and but what can agents do to utilize Facebook advertising if they're new to it? Because it seems like a daunting thing, because there's so many mistakes you can make with how to spend your money. So How do you what's the good basic way to get started?
The best way to get started with Facebook advertising is to find a good training resource. There's a lot of them out there. I'm happy to share some in writing here about what some good resources out there so that you can properly understand the tool. And I want to take a moment of pause here to separate between I'm going to boost a post and I'm going to advertise on Facebook. They're two very different things, and they're valuable in different ways. But, I just want to be clear that when we're talking about advertising, we're not talking about putting $10 into your post. That is a visibility tool. It is a get eyeballs on your new listing or new likes for your, there are a lot of purposes to do that. But if you're really wanting to lead generate and grow your business, that ain't it. Even Mark Zuckerberg will tell you that that's not what that's meant for. It's not going to get priority in placement. It's not, if you want to do Facebook advertising, do Facebook advertising. It's not to say there's no value in boosting, but we're just talking about two different things here. If you want to get started with advertising, learn to do it properly. Like, find a real Facebook training program that's going to take you start to finish. Because if you get in there and you see more than a couple levers that you don't know what to do, you're not ready to be running ads yet.
Okay. That's good advice.
It's not a hard system. It's not a simple system. It's not difficult. Sorry, I said that backwards. It's not difficult, but it is relatively complex. Each lever is kind of a yes or no choice in a lot of cases. You know what I mean? So you just need to know what combination to put those in, because you may well be doing things that's crashing your results and you don't even know it. So, if you sit down at that platform, and, Facebook has a ton of stuff out there, just go to Facebook's training, if nothing else, if you don't have the resources to invest in a paid program. Just take it step by step. How do I set up the audience? How do I set up the targeting? How do I take it one piece at a time and be really, really good at that? Because I think one of the things that's dangerous in this industry is we go into Facebook groups and we exchange with our peers, and it is so valuable, but then we take and we try to copy paste, and then we come out the other side and we say, I don't know why it didn't work. Well, that's because you didn't really know all of the moving parts.
Right.
You didn't know how their pixel was optimized. You didn't get to see their audience targeting. You didn't get to see their placement strategy. All they did was screenshot the ad and say, I got 50 leads in 2 days. That's only one ingredient of the soup. You know what I mean? So the simple answer, learn it properly. Don't start throwing your money at something that you don't know how to drive. It's just not a good investment for you. And there are a lot of tools out there to teach you if you do intend to do it yourself.
All right. So read the instructions before you build it.
Yeah. Read the whole recipe before you start making the soup.
All right.
For sure.
Well, I'm going to sneak one more question in before we go to commercial. And that is, I actually saw a pretty cool little snippet of an interview you did, and I wanted to kind of extract a little from that by asking you this question: is how does one that has had some Facebook ad experience diagnose and treat their underperforming ads? How do you determine, hey, where's the benchmark, and where can it be improved?
Yeah, we could do a whole hour on that one, couldn't we?
I figured.
I sneak this one in before the commercial break. I mean, in simple terms, you have to be testing at all times with your Facebook ads, because what's healthy one week might be ailing the next week, and vice versa. Just because an ad is bringing leads doesn't mean it's healthy. And just because it's not doesn't mean it isn't healthy. When you're split testing and you're saying, my mobile versus my desktop, okay, I'm getting way better results on mobile. Let's test that. You're running out of the gate. You should always be running 3, 4, 5 versions of your creative. See which one's working best, then start testing another part of the creative. By always testing, you're going to improve, because I'll have people ask me, what's a good click-through rate? Well, that depends on about 1,000 different things. Right. What layer in your campaign is it? How big is your audience? How long has it been? So my answer is, if you've got 5 creatives running, you can say this one's getting a terrible click-through rate, if you don't have anything to compare it to. So the basic process there is diagnose where the really good things are happening, scale into those, treat the things that aren't working, and then let it heal. You have got to stop touching your campaigns Let them run. Give Facebook time to be smarter than you. Give them a couple of days or a week, depending on how much ad budget you're putting into it. Just stop touching them, because if you're touching them every day, you're actually making them worse.
But I want it now.
I know. And that, honestly, with realtors, that's the uphill battle, is when I'm like, I'm like, your ads are live. They're like, I haven't gotten any leads. It's been 10 minutes. Like, come on.
10 minutes? That's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
They probably were only there on one cup of coffee if they let it go 10 minutes.
Right. And better when they're like looking at their own stats and things going, oh, I'm like, you just got to trust me. That's what you're paying me to know, is when we need to make changes. So you got to diagnose what's wrong, heal it, or treat it, then let it heal. Think about it like a doctor. You know what I mean? This is a scientific process. Facebook advertising is a science, maybe more so than any other venue or tool we have right now. It is a science.
Well, and just based on your answer, your answer alone made me realize that's a full-time job doing that, and that's not what I'm getting paid to do. Mm-hmm. So just in that answer, I've realized, wow, that was so overwhelming to listen to. And so this is why you hire it done when you don't know what you're doing, folks, because your time and money is better spent on what you're bringing the money in with, and then hire your weaknesses. If you're not good at something, is it in your best interest to train on it and spend time doing it, or is it better to hire someone to do it? That's my opinion. We're going to come back with some more questions in a minute, but I'm going to toss it over to Jonathan, and he'll take us to a commercial break.
Oh, thanks, Thomas. I really enjoying the conversation. And we're going for a break, folks. And when we come back, we're going to be talking some more Facebook with Courtney and delving a little bit deeper in this fascinating topic. We'll be back in a few seconds, folks. We're coming back, folks. We've had a great conversation with Courtney, all about Facebook. I'm going to hand it back to my co-host, Thomas.
All right. Well, Courtney, I wanted to dive into SEO because that is an acronym that's tossed around daily. Yet, when we're talking about search engine optimization, has that changed over the years, and how it's effective, and what are best practices for it today if it has changed? Or was that just a huge question?
That was a really huge question, and I will respond with, search engine optimization is not something I spend time on full time. So
okay.
I really briefly in response to that, only to say that the very healthiest marketing programs are doing both. Like Facebook advertising, search engine optimization changes very, very frequently. So the things that you did that you were ranking for a year ago, you may just be off the radar now because you haven't kept up with what you're doing.
Okay.
So, searching can be a great way to, what they want in a different way than you do on Facebook advertising. So you can address those needs and attract particular kinds of people based on what they're searching for. But like Facebook advertising, it can be a very robust, very big strategy to really see results on it. And it's not a short-term strategy by any stretch. I think even SEO people will tell you that. SEO is a road you want to go down if you're really trying to build for the long term. That being said, make sure your websites don't suck. That's not an SEO strategy. That's a business owner strategy. You as listing agents purport to be marketing professionals. Build out your websites, put some content on them for the love. It's important whether you're working on an SEO strategy or not. Make your websites valuable, because people, whether they're referral or not, are going to look you up, and they're going to, first thing they judge about your business is your website in a lot of cases. So,
yeah. Would you agree with this, Courtney, that agents got to spend some love on their website and spend a few hours, have some time every week, like 1 hour, 2 hour, where they're actually actively working on their website around content. And just, you see so many agents just got this attitude, we got the website up and we're just going to leave it. Would you agree with what I've just said?
it depends on the website, but yes, as a general statement. I mean, if you've got blog posts on there that are dated from 3 years ago, and that's the most recent thing that you have on that website, it does not look good. It looks like you're out of business. And right. If you don't have time to maintain your own business, what kind of attention are you giving their listing?
Great point.
So from that standpoint, yes. It depends on the website that you're trying to leverage and what your goals are. There's a lot of people using those really out of the box websites that are very simple and they're a great online business card and brochure, and that's all it's doing. And if that's the case, put your $30 a month into it or use what your broker's giving you. Go to it. But if you're gonna do more, you have to do more. And that's another of those things you can hire out. We write a lot of content for people that, on a weekly, monthly basis, so that there's just fresh content that they use it on their Facebook pages. They use it in email newsletters. There's a lot of value to that work. So it's not just make yourself look good. If you come from a place of value, you're always going to get better results.
Yeah. Sorry, Thomas, go on.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to piggyback on that because Jonathan talks about this a lot too. We always talk about renting a website versus owning a website. And he's always on me because I do rent a website right now, but I have customized it a little. But my question is, we were talking about expectations before with marketing. Like an agent needs to give marketing time and to kick in, and so you have to have a budget that can sustain essentially probably no ROI in the beginning, just so that it can get legs and get going. Mm-hmm. But with a website, if an agent is to take the advice Jonathan's given multiple times on owning one, in your opinion, like what's a good budget to start with to own your own website? Because, I'll be the first to admit, I came into, the computer age hit as I graduated high school. So I didn't grow up with it, but I adopted it in my adult life. And the thought of spending thousands of dollars on this kind of intangible digital thing out there was a tough sell on me in the early days of my career. So how do you assign a value to that, and what is that value for launching a website?
I'm going to admit I haven't heard all his comments on this, but I don't necessarily agree.
Go for it.
In the same way that we spoke earlier about those of us that are full-time advertisers, it's a full-time job to keep up with the technology and the tools and the changes and the best practices. When you're talking about renting websites, you're paying for somebody else to do that work for you. And because they're scaled, you're getting a financial benefit from that scale, but that does not mean you're not getting as good a tool. When you're owning your own, you're still paying for that time. You're just paying for it individually. So it is an incrementally more expensive thing. Now, that being said, my guess is that his argument is that, that tool dries up, you decide to make a change, you've lost all of your content value. Am I on the right track there as his argument on the...
I think you've done fantastic. But
okay.
I just wanted to say, I think leasing a platform at the beginning is probably the right choice. I think only having a site that you can really have more flexibility and more customization and making it more individual to your brand is a bit linked to what we've said during this conversation. Is it's only worth doing when you in the position to build a brand. If you're in a position to be really realistic to yourself that either you're going to get somebody like yourself or other people maybe to write content for you, and also write some of it yourself. I'm not saying you're going to have to write it all yourself. I think there's a sweet area, but that's only worth it. It's only worth going down owning the site, as I put it, is when you're prepared to put some love and care into it. That's what I really meant.
Yeah. And it's got to be part of a more robust strategy.
Yes,
the concept of your SEO loss when you change sites and that kind of stuff. I had somebody earlier this year pay me a lot of money to migrate all of their community pages and blog posts and all that kind of stuff. Now, they weren't as valuable because they were brand new, but he had paid for that content and he wanted it moved. So it depends on the situation. I hate that answer, but it sincerely does. That's where, my actual recommendation is don't pick the brain of the people that are selling the sites. Pick the brain of someone like myself or Jonathan that can give you some perspective on your situation. Because it's, those of us that know the industry from a marketing standpoint, we pretty much know all the products that are out there. And, I have my favorites, but if it's not the right choice for somebody, I'll tell them something else. Right. So it's, that's where you got to be careful with the hive mind of everybody's jumping in bed with this one website product and let's all go do this. And they're making lots of money. So I'm going to make lots of money. But again, you don't know all the variables involved. Maybe they're the only decent agent in 100 miles. You don't know.
Right.
So it's not one size fits all, I guess, is my short answer to that.
Yeah.
And if you're not in a position that you're going to be pushing into a hardcore, like website centered strategy, the own your website is a pretty big investment to make until you're in a place to really go there. So I agree.
Thank you. But don't get me wrong. There's about half a dozen very quality kind of leasing, curator. I'm a great fan of Chris Smith and Jimmy. I've spoken to Chris on a number of occasions. I've tried to get him on this show. He did say he would come on it, but he keeps escaping. I
want to come that day.
That would be interesting.
I had the chance to see Chris speak about the conversion code. That's actually the gift I give all my new clients is the conversion code, because it is a must read for anyone.
It's not bad, is it? He gets to the point, at least. It's not a ramble. He gets to the point, doesn't he, Chris?
Well, he gets that it's a science. It's not throw darts at the wall and hope one sticks. You need to treat your business like a business. And
that's why I thought I would invite you, because that's what I love about you is I've seen you on other podcasts and that, and one of your great strengths is you provide great value, but you also get to the point. So
thank you.
Yes. So have you got any, when it comes to Facebook advertising, one of the classics is a home valuation lead magnet. It's an old classic. Do you think that still has any life still in it, or do you think your lead magnets and your objective through Facebook advertising is to get people's name, phone number, email, isn't it really? But it's getting a little bit more difficult, isn't it? So what do you think of that old classic, and what are some of your advice and insights about running it? Do you need a landing page and a lead magnet to have a reasonably successful Facebook advertising campaign?
Yeah, seller leads on Facebook are hard, man. Like hard. I hope my saying that gives comfort to the do-it-yourselfers. I've got an agency network around the world that are a lot of them working with realtors, and it's kind of an industry-wide. Somebody crack this thing is the right answer, and like I'll pay for it all day once somebody figures it out. I have some things that work in some markets, but it's been something that we've tested into really hard to find a sweet spot. I will say those home value ads, in most markets, they've lost their mojo just because they've been oversaturated. And because, what I keep hearing from agents that have used them, like they buy one of these $25 a month that they can use the tool. What ends up happening is they get an auto-generated home value, and then they get on the phone with the agent, and the agent ends up having to duke it out with whatever that report sent, which is not a licensed real estate agent in their market. So, they actually found that to be an uphill climb with those leads because they had already been given a home value before the agent even got to speak to them. So, I think industry-wide, that's a subject that can be addressed, is these auto value things, estimate and whatever. But I think the home value, it's wanting to know your home value does not mean you're somebody that's thinking about selling. So where you are in your selling process, it doesn't mean anything to that. I've seen success marketing sellers as buyers, like why they're changing homes, because that is hitting an emotional trigger. What's your home worth is not, there's no emotional trigger to that. Like the most successful campaigns are emotional triggers, right? So that doesn't mean anything. You don't know who you're talking to. So how do you possibly write copy for that to make it really effective? And if you do catch them, you might be catching people that just bought their home and now they want to know what it's worth. They're not selling it, or, they're going to refinance, and that, you can help them with that, but it's not valuable to you. So that particular campaign, I think in most markets, there are still agents seeing some success with it, but I think in most markets it's run its course. We're having to be more creative. It's saturated now.
I mean, that's a huge point you made about the emotional triggers. You're right. I mean, if it's not inspiring some sort of emotional reaction, it's not going to get the juice that you're hoping, especially if you're using something that every other agent's using out of the box, you know? It kind of, when you said that, it brought up a question in my mind I want to ask you is, knowing what you just said, what is effective top of mind marketing then today? Would it, like, is it, do you target emotionally versus practically, if you will? What is, you know, let's talk about top of mind marketing and what's effective today.
Yeah, that's a big question. Because if you were an agent in Dallas, Texas, or you were an agent in Green Bay, Wisconsin, or you were an agent in LA, California, we would have very different conversations about that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So, you know, I was speaking to an agent last week that he's in a market where the 20 and 30 somethings are migrating out of this particular couple of zip codes and they're moving out to this particular couple of zip codes. So we have a real opportunity there to market to them with things of value involving this market, because he as an agent is a smart agent, watches his numbers, knows his numbers, identified that. So we can be really specific to who they are, why they're moving. Those are the best campaigns, is where we can come from a place of value. And that we're actually giving something valuable. Okay. So, you know, something like expecting parents that are upsizing. You can target that on Facebook, and you can, it's not about manipulating their emotions. It's about addressing a pain. Like they're thinking about, oh my gosh, they had their baby shower. Where am I going to put all this stuff? Like I mean, my daughter's too. I still don't have room for all this stuff. So it's those kind of triggers. It's not about manipulating them. It's about addressing them and really trying to help, like trying to help. When you sit down to write your campaign, start there. Who do I want to help and how can I help them? And then work that backwards. And sometimes the answer is, I don't know. And then maybe, you know, you have to move on to another idea. So it's,
well, when it would come from a
funnel, it's places of service is going to be your best.
Yeah, because I mean, I think you too. I mean, what you're saying is true, that it would come from an authentic place in me. I wouldn't sit there and target dog owners if I didn't like dogs. But because I am a dog owner, I might want to go after dog owners because I know a great community where there's a wonderful dog park. It's very dog friendly community. So I think it's then what the idea I got from what you just said is it's got to come from a place of where you're personally interested, you're personally invested in this. And so where, you know, is that a viable market to go after? I mean, it might, just because I'm into finger painting doesn't mean I'm going to find enough people to sell houses to that are into finger painting.
Right.
So it's got to have a practical market.
Yeah, I think it's linked to a previous question we asked Courtney. You know, when you were asking about when you're up against these big, you know, you've gone up and you're now facing some big local competitors, and it's a bit also linked to the home valuation question I asked. Is that I think these campaigns, to be really engaging, they've got to be what I call nicheified. They've got to be aimed at specific target audiences. But the question I'm going to ask Courtney is, when it comes to Facebook, you get a lot of these seminars and aimed at agents, and they say, you know, you can really target an audience, really, you know, micro target. But the reality is the audience has to be at a certain size, really, doesn't it?
Which is hard in a small geographic area.
Exactly. This I'm going to ask you. I'm the terrible one of this. I'm going to ask you the real toughy questions, but. What
bring it on, Jonathan.
Yeah, come here. Yeah. I do it with a smile though. But what have you found, you know, your audience size really has to be to, you know, really get any kind of result from the campaigns in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, whenever I'm researching, start launching a campaign for a new agent, one of the first things that I do is research the population density of their area. So if in their circle that they want to do business in, there's 10,000 homeowners, and then we start niching that down, that's not going to be an effective audience. And those people, you're going to have to refresh that copy over and over and over and over again, because those 10,000 people are going to see that ad in a couple of months, right? So, because Facebook tries to battle frequency as much as it can to help you, it's a much more of an uphill climb. So if you're in one of those tiny little markets, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for you. Whereas if you're, east of LA and you've got 250,000 homeowners in a 10-mile radius, so I don't really like to work with an audience, like a starting seed audience of less than 10 or 15,000 personally. Okay. I know there are those out there that would disagree with me on that, but I think by the time you niche that down and then you start retargeting it, it starts to get really, really, really small. And you're going to have issues with frequency and showing the ad too much to the same people. And it's a problem. So that's just my personal threshold. 10 to 15,000 is about as small as I would want to go, top of funnel.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Actually, I actually think it's got a little bit a bit higher, but I think it's debatable. The other factor I was going to ask you is that, I think you've got to understand a little bit about Facebook and what they're looking for. And they're looking for keeping people on their platform as long as possible. And seeing engagement on that platform. So I can't pronounce today, it's terrible. Relevance is, they actually give you a score, don't they, about from 0 to 10. Can you talk about that a little bit and why that is so important and keeping an eye on that?
Yeah, here's the thing. Facebook's free. And in exchange for Facebook being free and getting to do things like we're doing right now and being live all over the internet for free, we engage with ads. However, when the ads are terrible, it affects our relationship with that platform, right? So, you start running a campaign and it's, Jonathan's referencing the relevancy score. If you're sitting at a 1 or a 2 and you can't figure out why your ads aren't feeding out, it's because your ad's terrible and Facebook doesn't want to show them. Given the choice between a really good, healthy, helpful ad and a really terrible, ugly ad that doesn't help anybody except themselves, Facebook's going to choose this one all the time. So when you're looking at your relevancy score, that there's a combination of a lot of different things. Are you showing the right ad to the right person in the right way? Because if you're not accomplishing those objectives that you set up to accomplish, Facebook's going to be like, okay, then something in there is broken and it's going to penalize you for that. It's going to make your costs higher and it's going to make your ad show less. And, you're not going to get the most desirable placement when there's a 10 out of 10 sitting over here trying to bid against you. Yeah. Facebook wants to stay free. And to do that, they have to keep their ads as comfortable as possible inside of their user interface. That's part of why they're pushing Messenger so hard right now. You hit the nail right on the head with all of the bots. And I don't know if you guys have gone there on the show or not, but all of the bots and the autoresponders and things that are out there, that's the hot tool right now, because they're wanting to make Messenger the thing that's where you communicate with each other. That the goal for an agent could no longer be an email and phone number. They just need a Messenger engagement. That is all part of Facebook's mindset of make your stuff good because we will show it for you. But if it's terrible, we're not going to show it. So
I think that's a fantastic answer. I think we're going to finish off on our podcast. And if Courtney's gracious, can spend another 10 minutes, I'd love to continue the discussion on YouTube. And we delve a little bit more into some of the world of Facebook. What do you, I'm going to hand it back over to Thomas to kind of finish off.
Sure. Well, I just want to give Courtney a chance to let our podcast listeners know how to reach out to her. So, Courtney, do you want to tell people how to reach you?
Sure. Yeah. You can get all of my contact information on happyturtlemarketing.com. You can see some more information about the work that we do. And you can actually schedule some time with me right on that website that we can talk about your business and see if there's things that we can do to help grow. Or just, look beyond, send me a message in Messenger if you want. I'm available to agents all over the country because I think when the industry does better, we'll all do better. So I'm happy to help in any way that I can, client or not.
Awesome. All right. Well, folks, you heard it. That's Courtney Brophy with Happy Turtle Marketing. We'll have her contact information up on the show notes as well. Jonathan, you want to let our listeners know how to reach you?
It's really easy, folks. You can go to the Mail Right Twitter feed. You can go to the Mail Right Facebook page. I'm around on both. Or you could email me, yes, or message me. But email jonathan@mail-right.com, and I'll answer all my email that's directly sent to me. And we love your feedback. Have you found this discussion really interesting? I have. And what guests and what areas you would like me and Thomas to find a expert to interview and have a chat with, and get some insights about the most latest marketing and real estate things that people are doing that are getting them results. Back to you, Thomas.
All right. And I'm Thomas J. Nelson. You can find me on my website, conveniently called thomasjnelsonrealtor.com, here in San Diego, California. I can also connect you with agents throughout the country and Canada, as I belong to a pretty dynamic network that is responsible for selling 1 out of every 8 homes in the United States. I'm also found on Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can do the old-fashioned thing and call me at 858-232-8722. I hope you'll join us over on YouTube now. We're going to ask some bonus questions of Courtney, but we'll be signing off the podcast now, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, folks. Bye-bye.
Right. Another question, retargeting. Have you been doing retargeting? Do you think in your arsenal or quiver of arrows, does it have any effectiveness on Facebook retargeting?
It has a lot of effectiveness on it's a much more advanced strategy. So I think for the do-it-yourself agents, it would be a lot to take on to do it properly. Because I think what a lot of agents are being coached to do is just put a pixel on your website and then you can retarget everybody that goes to your website.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's great for brand awareness and people that have already engaged with you in some way. But again, the most valuable thing you can do is give the right message to the right person in the right way. So if you're just tracking your whole website and trying to retarget it, you're catching all the fish. Whereas you set up a custom audience that's a specific page on your website, like your home buying guide, or homes near the dog park in Roseville, California, or whatever it is, then those retargeting audiences are going to be a lot more valuable for you than just your general everybody that's ever been to isellhouses.com. If you think about it in that way and being really specific, because start recording, even if you're not running a campaign for them, set up the audience so it starts recording the audience, and then you can figure out what to do with it. Because Facebook will start collecting data for you as soon as you set it up. So, what
would you, it's something me and Thomas has been preaching from day one. Build your database. It's like 101 of real estate. Build your database. What about retargeting using Facebook? I think you should look at it. Retargeting to your database.
Yes, and then yes, and then yes. It's one of the more overlooked values of running Facebook ads. Even if you are not advertising in a traditional sense, if you focus on your sphere and you use that database and market to that database, you can stay engaged with them top of mind, whether they're following your page or not. So if these are people that have value to you, if they see every time you list a home, you're having a home buyer workshop, come see me. You look really active and still in business. And there's no reason in the world that they shouldn't think of you when they have a need or they have a peer that has a need. That's even if you just set it up so that you can boost your posts to the people who aren't following your page, there's a lot of different uses for that for sure.
And have you been utilising at all lookalike lists? And if so, what some of the results and things that you found about utilising that as well?
Lookalike lists are much more effective in larger audiences. Your database is probably
you better tell the listener what a lookalike list is.
I was just going to say, tell the co-host too.
All right, let's rewind one sentence there.
Yeah.
Okay. So what a lookalike audience does is, let's say I have a list of, we'll just use my business as an example. I have a list of 500 real estate agents that are exactly the kind of real estate agent I want to do business with. So I can go into Facebook and I can give Facebook that list. And I can say, Facebook, find me all the people in America who are like these people. Oh. And what Facebook does is it crawls all of the data on those 500 people and it finds me an audience of the 1% of America that are most like whatever, like whatever those data points are. It's pretty incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's about a lot of reasons to use that. If you're, let's say, an e-commerce site that you have a list of people who have actually bought products from you.
But can an agent who wants, like you say, wants to dominate a 10-mile radius, can they utilize lookalike lists also?
It probably wouldn't be the best choice.
Yeah,
I don't know much about it. It's too small of an audience, and your list is going to be too small.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. But I mean, I could say, hey, these are the profiles of my 20 favorite clients. Go find me the rest of the people like this in California, or
20 people's too small.
Okay, that's a good.
Yeah. Because there's not going to be enough. Because how do I explain this? So
what's the minimum?
When Facebook's crawling those lists, right? They're going to say Jonathan has ABC, Courtney has BCD, and they're going to see B and C as an overlap, and they're going to consider B and C as something similar about these people. So if you've only got 20 people, those data points, they're not necessarily going to find enough of them to really even be able to find you an audience. You know, you're probably better served at a list that small to know those people and know what the similarities are. Because again, you're only talking about a very small geography. If you were trying to market the whole state of Texas, yeah, sure, you probably see some success with a lookalike. There may be people out there that disagree with me, but you need hundreds on your list.
Okay, but what would be a minimum? Like 200 would minimum, 300 minimum?
You probably have 500 to 1,000.
Really?
At least.
Least. But it still has the custom list thing is to me a no-brainer, and that, you know, because the cost of retargeting to that custom list should be a lot less, shouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is, you know, and always be in consideration that, you know, you convert a lead at level 2. It's the first cost and the second cost together. So while your clicks might be cheaper in that second, like when you're retargeting them, you still paid for them the first time. So, you know, it's important to keep that in consideration too, that it's your overall campaign cost, not just.
Yeah, I've got one more question before we see if Thomas has got one or two questions, and then we'll finish off. You've been very gracious with your time.
Absolutely.
Got any insight, because you've been in the real estate industry yourself, and you deal with a lot of real estate clients. Have you got any insight why building up a database like it's like one of the pillars, one of the 101s, and then also online keeping in contact, touching those people, is still a very alien concept to a lot of agents? Have you got any insight why that is?
Yes, and I don't think that the listeners are going to like my answer. Honestly, the real estate lifestyle, and we all know it's a lifestyle. There's a cliche that goes with that lifestyle, but in a lot of cases it holds true. It is difficult to have routine, and it is difficult to have structure, and it is difficult to have habit, because so much of what the work that they do is time sensitive. You know, when you've got 6 offers I have agents or cancel appointments on me all the time, and I don't get mad because I know when you got 6 offers coming in, you can't not address that issue. You know, it's just working with agents. It is what it is. But I think when you're talking about your database, it's routine and it's habit. And those things are very difficult for a lot of agents. It gets a little easier if they start to scale, that they take some of those day-to-day things off their own plate. But for the individual agent, you know, and I know there's models out there to teach time blocking, and but that's just not reality some days. You got to do the business when it's there to do. And somebody wants to show a house that's only going to be on the market 12 hours, you go.
Right.
But the problem is that months go by and you haven't done you haven't worked on your own business, especially in the sweet spot of the year that the leads are coming just because it's busy. You stop thinking about, you know, where's my next deal coming from?
I've got 2 things. I totally agree with you. And I've got 2 practical suggestions that help folks. A, get up early. And B, don't answer the phone after 6. Unless you really, really got to. And that will give you, getting up early, it's surprising what you can do in 3 or 4 hours before hell breaks loose.
Oh, yeah.
And having some boundary where they can't ring you up at 9 o'clock at night. will stop you from imploding. What do you think, Thomas? And also, have you got some questions to wrap up?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think Courtney's spot on, because that is the agent. I mean, I always use the image of if you're an I Love Lucy fan, the Lucy and the chocolate conveyor belt. That's an agent. When things are running smooth, everything's under control. But the minute that thing speeds up, all hell breaks loose.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you, Jonathan. I mean, I'm in the minority, and I take a lot of slings and arrows for being an agent with boundaries, because I preach it all the time. And I'll tell you, the number one person that argues with me about boundaries is not my clients. It's other agents.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, God forbid I put a house on the market on a Friday and then I close on Sunday, which I do every Sunday and have for over a decade. You can't imagine some of the messages I have to greet me on Monday from the agents that tried to reach me on Sunday. I even put it in the MLS. I'm closed on Sundays, and yet because I agree with you, you need downtime, you need to recharge. Athletes are paid millions of dollars to rest and recover. The focus. Darren Hardy talks about this a lot in the compound effect. You need a power hour. You need, I'll go so far as say not just after 6 o'clock, but you need an hour in your day where if you're going to prospect or you're going to work on your Facebook marketing or whatever it is you've targeted, that the phone is off and you can focus for that hour. You will get more done in that hour. You know, people argue this, but I tell you what, and Courtney can probably back me up on this because she works with agents. As an agent, all I need to do is plan a vacation, and two things happen. I get hyper organized and I get hyper busy. All of a sudden, every client that was sitting on the fence for 6 years decides to buy a house that week. And I get more organized with my time in that week before I leave than I've been the whole 6 months prior. And it's because there's a focus, and you no longer are distracted by the things that rob you of that focus.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
well, and I would speak to also, and this is going to be a little woo-woo for some people, but the agents that work without boundaries with other agents and with their clients, it's a symptom.
Yep.
And it is a symptom of their mindset.
Yep.
And that mindset is a symptom of not running their businesses as well as and efficiently as they could be. Because they're coming from a place of fear that if I don't answer that phone call at 10 o'clock at night, there won't be another client for me to work with tomorrow.
Amen.
And if they had consistent lead generation coming in, they'll know that that next client is going to come. And you know what? If that client doesn't respect your family time more than that, they don't belong on your roster anyway. Yeah. I work with agents West Coast to East Coast, and if it is not on fire between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. when my daughter is home with my husband and I'm not answering it. If I know it's coming, and you know what I mean? Like, that's a different thing if something's on fire. But like, my clients respect that because I've taught them to respect it.
There you go.
So that is boundaries you as a business owner should get to set, or why the heck are you doing all of this? Like, if you don't get to run your own business, what's the point of taking on all the pressure and all the stress and all the management if you don't get to say, you know what, on Sundays, I'm spending the day with my family watching football. Like, back up. Like, that house will still be there tomorrow. And that's a mindset issue that agents just have to accept. If somebody doesn't respect your time more than that, then you need to respect yourself enough to say no, and enough is enough. Other agents, it's that same place of fear, like, oh God, my client's going to be pissed. It's that same place of anxiety of, you're doing my clients disservice by not answering your phone. But at the end of the day, if you're doing your business with integrity and you're giving your best to your clients, they will come back, and there will always be another client on the other side of the transaction. There just will. And if we can all train our mindsets as business owners to feel that way, that there is enough for everybody. There really, really, really is. There's plenty out there of abundance that if you train yourself that there will always be another one, you get out of that fear place of having to be at the beck and call of your clients and your co-ops, because that's tough.
Well, that's actually
Sorry,
one of the
that's
most...
a little woo-woo.
No, that's one of the most intelligent summations of that mindset I've heard in a while, because you're right, it is symptomatic. It is something that, it's easy when you have 10 clients and one's acting like a jackass to say bye-bye now. Yeah. But when the only client you have is that jackass, you let that client run your life. And it's what you just touched on. It's having enough business flowing in and having some sense of predictability with that business, which goes to what we've been talking about the last hour, is setting up campaigns that are designed for the long term of lead generation. But without getting on my soapbox, because this could easily be an hour topic that I'll talk on, I want to digress because you hit on enough good points. I can't do justice to what you said. I do want to ask you one last question before we have to go, and that is completely off topic of what we've been discussing. On your website, what I was impressed with and what I realized I'm lacking is you have a community outreach page. I know what Happy Turtle is involved in charity-wise and community-wise, and I think that's a brilliant page to have on your site. Can you just discuss, I think agents don't humanize themselves enough by saying, these are the other things I'm into. I love hiking. I love dogs. I give to this charity. Without it being extorting the charity, because I think you do it tastefully. How do you coach people on promoting those type of parts of their lives to show people the full spectrum of who you are as an agent?
It's hard because if you cross the line, it gets into exploitation, and it makes it seem like you're only doing these things for your own benefit. That's a fine line. Yeah. But what I believe in, and I feel so woo-woo today, is the law of attraction. And part of why I share that on my site as blatantly as I do is because it's a really important part of what I do and the person that I am. And if you're going to be in business with me, it's important to me that you know that. The weekend, one of the things I mentioned on my site, I'm involved with a cancer fundraising organization. Yeah, that we have, our big 5Ks coming up in a couple of weeks. And I will not be available that weekend because that's important to me. I sponsored a KW Cares event this weekend for one of our local offices here. That's important to me. And I share that both for visibility, like I use my platform for visibility for those organizations is part of it. And that's from a sincere heart of service. Yes. But the other portion of it is just, especially online, it's very difficult to get people to like you and to trust you because they're staring at a piece of plastic and a piece of metal. So I encourage agents to not be self-promoting, but to just be self-disclosing that this is the person that I am. I like puppies. I love puppies. I like football. I like, I like running. And those are things about me that make me the person that I am and the person you're going to ultimately be in business with. So I think when it comes to those charitable things, I think it is important, especially for realtors, because you're a part of your local community in a really big way. So if you're doing these things, don't be afraid to speak to it publicly. Don't be afraid of it, because people that are going to judge you for that are probably not people that you want to be in business with anyway.
Well, and I think, done, as you said, there's a fine line here. And if I can speak authentically about this for just a moment, it's my thought would be that, the other thing you can support is your boundaries and your commission, because you're saying to people, look, these are the things I'm involved in when I'm not, available at the office. Not that that's all I'm doing. These are the things I spend some of my money that I earn from doing sales, like with people like you, on, and these are the charities I support. Again, I also have a house payment and utility bills and a college. So I'm not trying to paint this idealistic picture, but I think it would help in that manner when people see the robustness of their agent, instead of just seeing them one-dimensionally as this is the guy standing between me and making a few more bucks if I just take his commission down, or if I make him work on his day off, the type of thing.
And it makes you a person.
Yeah,
if they think that real estate is the only thing you do all day, then that's what they're going to expect you to do all day. Right.
Okay, well, I'm dangerously close to standing on a soapbox here, so I'm going to let Jonathan wrap us up. And Courtney, thanks again this has been a great hour. It's been one of the best hours of my week, so thank you for being on our show today.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. And please let me know if you need to tap me as a resource. I'm always here.
Yes, Courtney, I've really enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully you'll decide to come back on the show and we have part 2. Really enjoyed the conversation. I know we've covered a lot of stuff, haven't we? Yeah. We threw a lot of questions to you, but you dealt with it superbly professionally. Just to finish up for the YouTube channel, how can people get hold of you, Courtney?
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest way to find all my contact information is happyturtlemarketing.com. You can contact me there, or look me up on Facebook and send me a message there as well. The easiest way to get to me is through those avenues. All my information's there.
Yes, and folks, hopefully next week we will have another expert or somebody that's in the trenches of the real estate industry. Hopefully you will get some value from listening to the podcast or going to the YouTube channel and looking at the bonus content. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.